The date is the first week in August 1939. I'm making my last journey to my old school, Dingle Lane. Today we are being evacuated to Oxford because of the possibility of war being declared. On my way to school, I went through Chinatown, Pennyfields, a favourite place where I walked every day. There was the Chinese butcher shop with the Chinaman chopping up with his axe the belly of pork that you could always get there. We stopped and picked up Dougie Hing from the Puckapoo house, who was being evacuated with us. Puckapoo was a gambling game, a Chinese gambling game, quite a lot of money involved. It was played on a big round table with a low ceiling light that just shone on the table, and they would sit around and you could hear clack, 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 clack all the time. It sounded like buttons. It was the Puckapoo house because that was the gaming house, and it was the last house before the Rose and Crown in Pennyfields. I went there because Dougie Hing used to live there. We were in the same class together. There was a Canton restaurant in Pennyfields, opposite the Chinese Mission, and I knew then that where we were going we wouldn't be eating any Chinese food for quite some time.
Come out from Whitechapel tube station. Along Whitechapel Road I can see the market stores with their green and white awnings selling brightly coloured clothes, shoes, sometimes difficult to spot a pair. When I crossed the road towards the Royal London Hospital, I looked up at the facades of buildings at upper floor levels. The red brick building next to the underground access has old lettering high up saying Working Lads Institute. I've been told that there was a gymnasium and even a swimming pool for the working lads there in the past. What I like about a lot of Whitechapel Road, and particularly this area, is that the buildings are quite a mix of periods, of materials, of colours, and they all sort of fit together. And now measures have been taken recently along parts of the road to clean up facades.
Poplar Baths opened in 1852 to provide public wash facilities for the East End's poor as a result of the Baths and Wash Houses Act 1846. It was rebuilt in 1933 in an Art Deco style, which had a theatre, a capacity of 1,400, a dance hall, an exhibition room and a sports hall, and of course a swimming pool. Not only did people come to swim, they also come to dance. After the baths closed, it became various different things. One thing I do remember was it as a construction cottage, where builders used to build structures from bricks, do painting, learn how to plaster, and then after it was all done they'd destroy it or knock it down. In my early teens, Poplar Baths was fully abandoned, so my friends and I would use it as a base. I remember we used to explore the area where the old swimming pool used to be. This was short-lived though, as the council sealed and locked all the doors. At present, what you see now is a new major redevelopment of Poplar Baths, which in time will be a brand new leisure centre, residential properties and youth centre, and for good measures, the old football pitch that used to be in Cottage Street, they'll stick right on the top. Time will only tell if this is a good or bad thing for the Poplar. I just hope that the facilities and the residentials is for the local people of the area, and not another push or stage into making the area more high profile for the people of Canary Wharf and the corporate investors.
Yeah, Wempton Street Market is a daily market, and it's part of the Petticoat Lane on a Sunday. They all join up. It's mainly clothing, ladies' clothing, and shirts, as men's shirts are sold as well, and jewellery. In the old days, the women wore petticoats, didn't they? I don't know if they still do. I wouldn't know. There used to be these ladies, elderly ladies, selling these bagels. You know what bagels are, don't you? They had a great big sack, and they used to sit there offering them to people. You know. They were very cheap in those days. And there was salt beef. You know what salt beef is? at the salt beef place there, and you can get food down there. But nowadays, they've all gone now. I live in Petticoat Square. You know, I've seen people in Petticoat Lane and they're looking at the maps. They're looking for Petticoat Lane. But it's not on the map. It's not an actual name, you see. They're wondering where it is. You know, many people have asked me where it is. I said, this is it, Wentworth Street and Middlesex Street.
So let us end our journey by the river at Ratcliffe Cross Stairs. Back in the days of maritime trade, these stairs represented the point where the Pool of London began and the voyages of thousands of sailors ended. The two wharves on either side have variously been a coal store, a builder's merchant, sailmakers, biscuit bakers, and a manufactory of tea chests, now both box domiciles of comfort. But the beach below is a favourite haunt of terns and pigeons, kingfishers, shags, beachcombers, old men skimming stones with boyish glee, migrant wagtails, boisterous mutts and mudlarkers. As the tide comes in, the air is scented salty, and as it goes out again, a freshly laundered sheet of sand stretches high above the jetsam and the flotsam. So stop a while to breathe and smile.
Halfway down Broome Street, just look across the road at that rather imposing looking building. It has a very unusual symbol on the front. It looks very much like a soup tureen. Well, it is a soup tureen, and it is the Jewish soup kitchen, set up in 1902. If you look on the left-hand side, 5662, that is a Jewish equivalent in their calendar. This was set up by the Jewish Board of Guardians to give food to the Jewish poor within the area. You would go into the entrance that says Inn, and you would collect a mug of soup and a hunk of bread. This is to stave off the hunger pangs. It was so well used. We hear about food being thrown away in their tons. In the Victorian time, people hardly had anything to eat in the East End of London. There's now luxury apartments. So whereas before the poor used to use it just to sort of stave off their hunger pangs, now there are luxury apartments. But the face here remains the same, and do glorify it in the look of that and take photographs accordingly, because it's really quite an impressive looking building. Every time I walk past the soup kitchen, it recalls a memory, not being Jewish, but my friends certainly were, and I used to just tag along with them, and I would actually go in there and they would actually give me a mug of soup and that hunk of bread. Even though it was primarily for the Jewish, anyone who was really hungry could go in there and be treated in a very charitable way.
This statue represents all of the children that went through a terrible time during the Blitz. It's a memorial to those innocent children. I remember reading the names of the 18 children on the statue and wondering what had happened to such young children who are not much younger than me. It's a good place to remember those children who died, and it makes us think about why this all happened.
Freedom Bookshop. If you walk up to the main road and turn left, there are 3 more iconic buildings. That narrow Angel Alley leads to Freedom Bookshop, a cooperatively run hub or post box for researchers, journalists, anarchists, activists and friends. Also, people who get lost on the way to the gallery, according to Andy, who shares duties there with Laura. The groups moved to this building in the 60s, still dependent on donations to a large extent. The members were cheered by a massive rise in support after the fire there a few years ago. They still use the centre in Fieldgate Street too, as former activists did in the 1900s. Once you've browsed the bookshelves, maybe bought a second-hand one, all at £1, or picked up leaflets from the centre table, pause as you leave to look at past heroes, illustrated on the wall outside.
East End Mission, built 1907. Walking along Commercial Road, you will pass a domino line-up of boarded-up shops that continue the length of the walk up to East End Mission. Approach the second stop of the trail amidst the blurred lines of passing traffic, the rattle of pushchairs on pedestrian crossings, and the almost unnoticeable hum of the iconic red Routemaster, dropping its skewed shadows 4.5 metres across the street. Formerly used as a fully functioning Methodist church, the East End Mission is now home to 4 floors of sparkly new apartments. Although you may notice that the East End Mission quite seamlessly blends into its surroundings on Commercial Road, as it rests in silence above the sublet outlets that sit on the street level. Having lived through and seen the struggle of independent retailers in the area, it makes me wonder if my generation has any hope for running a business of our own, now faced with a volatile and ruthless local market engulfed by the monster brands and supermarket chains. More than just a handful of independent newsagents, including that of my parents, have been directly affected by the moving in of supermarket convenience stores, targeting our local residents and neighbours. Speaking to the elderly residents in the neighbourhood, it is clear that the smaller shops, run by families in the area, are what creates the cosy community that we live in. These little corner shops provide a toasty shelter for chit-chat over the daily newspaper headlines on a chilly weekday morning.
In Whitechapel Market is the call is Bengali market. There is the Bengali people is gathering there because they find their foods, their culture, their shops, almost everything is they found in Whitechapel. Because that reason people is coming from all over the Britain to the Whitechapel because they find their cultural things, dress, music, shopping, bank. Is all the Bengali official thing is there. Almost Bengali all business is there. That reason our Bengali people coming from all over the Britain in Whitechapel Market.
Trinity Boy Wharf is situated at the end of Orchard Place at the mouth of the River Lee. Trinity House, who are responsible for maritime safety, set up an establishment here in the 1700s. The lighthouse, which was only used for experimental and training purposes, dates from 1864. One of the scientific advisors here was Michael Faraday. It was his experiments here that prepared the way for the first electric-powered lighthouse at Dover. Trinity House still tests buoys and other equipment here. Today it houses Long Player, a musical art installation created for the millennium by Jem Finer that will play for the next 1,000 years. It's open to visitors every Saturday and Sunday from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m.
One of the very famous places in the East End, in Whitechapel Road, was a big store called Wickham's. They sold everything, as the expression goes, from a pin to an elephant. and it was very well used by most of the residents of the East End. They also housed a very nice hairdressing salon there, which was quite something because there weren't too many of those along the Whitechapel Road. And to us it was the Selfridges of the East End. The facade of Wickham's is really quite grand. In the centre of the building there was this very small jewellery shop, and it was called Spiegelhalter. They really sold beautiful diamonds, which we couldn't afford. The jewellery shop was obviously there before Wickham's was built, and they've built the store either side of the jewellery shop because somehow or other the owners managed to fight it and kept it, which was rather nice because it was something a little bit special. So Wickham's looks as though it's broken in two.
Look across the road, there's Itchy Park. A boy was murdered there, that's why they name it Eltap Alley Park. Why they call it Itchy Park is because the down and outs and methylated drinkers go over there, who drink methylated spirits and whatever. Homeless people and all, yeah. They're very rough that go over there, and but I don't think the ordinary person would like to mix there because you come out scratching yourself because of the lice. And that's why they call it Itchy Park. The group, the Small Faces, made the song of Itchy Coo Park, and they were from the East End, and they were quite a hit with that. I've known it from a kid, Itchy Park, and I'm 83 now, so it's quite a few years ago.
Limehouse Basin, formerly Regent's Canal Dock, what was opened in 1820. It was used to handle coal brought down from the coalfields of the northeast. It was full of working boats, and you could walk from one side of the dock to the other. My dad worked there for a number of years, and it was unloading barges, unloading ships. It was hard work. The men worked very hard in them days. They used their shoulders and their back, carry the sacks from off the ships. My father used to go early in the morning to Butcher's Row to see if he was one of them chosen for the day's work. There was many youngsters there that had to be turned away, and you was lucky if you got a job. Of course, today it's much easier, isn't it? Well, in fact, there's no docks today. The dock closed in 1969. It is now surrounded by all these new apartments with people that have got money.